guys, it's Amanda over at AmandaReads, and today I'm coming to you with my second quarter wrap-up for 2019. So these will be the books that I read in April, May, and June. I will be talking about 19 books today, although 2 of those will be books that I actually DNF'd. Because it's been so long since I've read a lot of these books, I'm going to do a really bad job of describing them. I'm just letting you know up front because I know I remember bits and pieces of them and I remember things that I love, but a lot of them are spoilers, and so I'm trying to remember the non-spoiler parts and I'm doing a really bad job. So if any of these books look or sound interesting to you, I really suggest you go look at their synopses on Goodreads or just go into them blind. If you think you have the same reading taste as me, that's cool too. So the first book that I finished in the month of April was our March book club pick, which was the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. What a long title. This is written by Mary Ann Schaeffer, is how I think it's pronounced, or Schaffer. This is a movie on Netflix based on the book. So we actually watched the movie at book club and I really liked it. It was cute. I gave this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. It is a historical fiction novel. It was a cute, easy read. It's not a long book, and I thought the movie was cute, and I would definitely recommend it. Next, I read One Summer in Paris by Sarah Morgan, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. And as you probably remember, I'm a member of the U.S. Sarah Morgan review crew. So I get her books sent to me in exchange for an honest review. Her standalone novels, I love them. And this is about a woman who her husband lets her know on their anniversary one day that he's fallen out of love with her. He doesn't want to be with her anymore. He's been seeing someone else. She had booked a trip to Paris for the 2 of them for their anniversary. That was her present to him. And when he drops this bomb on her, she makes a decision to still go to Paris by herself. She meets this young girl and they strike up a friendship. I didn't love the ending. I liked it though. I would recommend it. It just wasn't perfect. There were things I didn't like about it, but I did enjoy it. So 4 stars. Then I listened to Never Let You Go by CHEVY Stevens, who I had never heard of before, but I think she's actually pretty popular. This centered around a woman and her daughter. The mom's ex-husband, aka the daughter's father, was physically, emotionally, mentally abusive to our main character. He's in jail, but then he gets out of jail. And she starts basically getting stalked, and just sad, scary things happen. It was great. I loved it. I didn't expect the twist. That's what made me love this book. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I loved it because I didn't expect the twists. I expected some of the twists, but not all of the twists. And I still think about this book. I would definitely reread this book and recommend it if the premise sounds interesting to you. The final book I read in the month of April was my April book club pick, which was The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. And this, I think, is a debut novel from this author. It came out in 2019. And my coworkers loved this book. This was like their favorite book that we've read so far. I really liked it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. And this one is about a woman who one day comes home, goes up to her husband, shoots him in the face, killing him, and then never speaks a word. I'm going to talk next about the 2 books that I DNF'd. The first book I DNF'd was The Before, Now, and After Them by Peter Mon. Peter Mon is a booktuber. I love his videos. I subscribe to his channel. But I don't know why I just didn't really get into the book. I read 25 pages, which I know is not a lot, but I have so many unread books that I'm super interested in. And so I just decided to put it aside, and I just didn't finish it at that time. Will I ever finish it? I'm never going to say never. But probably not. The main characters are in high school, and so I just feel like I didn't really relate as much anyways. So I know that a lot of people would like this book. It just really wasn't for me. The second book I DNF'd was Small Great Things by Jodi Picoult. I read 170 pages of this book. I was invested in trying to push myself to read this book because a lot of people have told me how great it is. Both I've seen great online reviews, and then in real life, a lot of people I know have told me how great it is. I used to be obsessed with Jodi Picoult books. I used to read them all, and I think I kind of overdid it because now when I read any of her new books, I'm just not that into it. So I ended up DNFing it. I didn't want to force it. It's a big book, and I'm sure I would have liked the ending or whatever happens at the end because she always does a good job. But I just didn't want to push myself, so I gave it away. Moving on to the books that I read in May. The first book I read, I listened to. It was called Don't You Cry by Mary Kubica, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. This focuses on our main character, Quinn, and her roommate up and disappears one day, and she seems to be the only person who's concerned about it. So she starts investigating what the heck happened to her roommate, and she starts finding out these crazy things. And I think we also get the perspective of a young guy that doesn't live in the area, he lives somewhere else, and he meets this woman who just pops up. And so you're trying to figure out, how is this woman related to the disappeared woman? Are they the same person? Are they not? And I love Mary Kubica's novels, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Immediately after finishing that, I listened to Pretty Baby by Mary Kubica, which I actually own the physical book of. This is about a woman who finds this girl on the side of the street who has a baby, and she ends up taking them in despite her husband's protesting and her daughter's protesting. She just is like, nope, I'm bringing them in because this woman wants a baby so badly. So she's like, I'm going to take this girl in and I can help her take care of her baby because all I want is to take care of a baby, which is really sad when you think about it. Like, she's so desperate to just have a baby in her life that she'll just let this random girl that she knows nothing about off of the street into her house, endangering her family because she doesn't know anything about them. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked it. The next book I read was The Perfect Child by Lucinda Berry, and this was our May book club pick. This came out in 2019, and I loved this book. It's about this couple who adopt a girl, and she came from a terrible situation. She was found like on a highway. She looks like she's 2, like when they take her in, they think that she's 2 years old, but she's actually like 5 years old. That's how like horribly treated she was. So this guy who's a doctor, and he sees her when she's brought into the hospital. Him and his wife adopt her because they can't have children of their own. But when they bring her home, everything seems fine until they don't anymore. And it goes real bad, real fast. This book was creepy. I'm getting the chills just thinking about it. It's not too graphic, but there are graphic parts to it, or like parts that will definitely make you be like, oh, like I don't like that at all. But I definitely recommend it. Next, I picked up A Very Large Expanse of Sea by Tahara Mafi, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. I liked this book because it was a premise that I've never read before. However, it was cute. It's more of like a young adult novel, and I just didn't love it. It was good, so I gave it a 3. Then I read The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. I knew that the movie was coming out, and it looked cute, and I really wanted to read the book before I saw the movie. Spoiler alert, never saw the movie. I liked the book, though. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars, and this is about a girl whose family is going to be deported, and so she's living like her last day in New York City, and she meets this guy, and they have like a whirlwind 24-hour romance, and it was really cute. I really liked it. The final book I read in May was the illustrated edition of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling, and I really don't have anything to say about it, except, of course, I gave it 5 stars. And I really enjoyed reading this illustrated edition. I started reading The Chamber of Secrets in like 2017 or the end of 2018, and then I didn't finish it until May of 2019. I don't know why. The last month that we are going to talk about is June. So in June, the first book I read was The Winter People by Jennifer McMahon. Jennifer McMahon is one of my favorite authors. The Winter People, I want to say, is like her first book. It might not be her debut novel, but it's one of her earlier books. And I loved it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. No surprise, because everything that Jennifer McMahon writes, I really enjoy. And this is a really creepy book. It starts like back in time with this family, and there's like a murder. And then it fast forwards to present day with this new family living in the same house, and weird things start happening. And you're trying to figure out the connection between the old family and the new family. And they live on, it's this property that they live on the woods, and weird things go on in the woods. And so it was really creepy, really eerie. I read it in like one sitting. It was great. 5 out of 5 stars. Next, I listened to The Flight Attendant by Chris Bojalian. I don't know if that's how you say it. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. It centers around a flight attendant who drinks a little too much, and one morning she wakes up. She's on like a overnight stop before she gets on her next flight back to the United States. And she wakes up to find a dead man. The man that she spent the night before with is dead, throat slit, blood everywhere. And she doesn't remember what happened the night before because she was so drunk. And so she gets out of there before it's known that she's a suspect, but then pretty soon it catches up with her, and it's about her trying to remember what the heck happened. I liked it. I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't the best thriller suspense novel I've ever read, but it was good. Next, I read Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was my first book that I read by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I heard so much hype about Daisy Jones and the Six. It's written like an interview format, a transcription of interviews. It centers around this band that used to be highly popular called Daisy Jones and the Six. And the person that's interviewing is trying to just get the story of the band, how they became a band, why they're not together anymore, and what happened. And I liked it, but I was expecting, I don't know what I was expecting, but I was expecting more because of how obsessed people were with it. And it's not that I felt like it wasn't a well-written book or a well-thought-out book. It was, and I gave it the 3 stars, but I just wanted more. There were certain character dynamics that I loved, certain character dynamics I could not have cared less about, and so I just feel like it wasn't all it was hyped up to be. There are people who say this is like the best book they've read all year, and I just don't feel the same way. But the next book I read was No Exit by Taylor Adams. And it was amazing. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It is extremely graphic. It's about this girl who's on her way home. She's a college student, and she gets stuck in the snowstorm, and she has to pull off into a rest stop. And there are a bunch of people stranded at the rest stop, and when she gets out of her car, she realizes that the van next to her, there's a child locked in a cage in the back of this van. And so as she goes into this rest stop, she knows that someone in this rest stop has put a child in a cage in a van in the middle of a snowstorm where it's like below 0 degrees outside. And so she's stuck here stranded with people that are terrifying, and she's trying to figure out who is responsible, who is doing this to the girl, and how the heck is she going to get help when they're snowed in to this rest stop, and what is she going to do? And it was great. I literally could not recommend this book more, but there are definitely graphic scenes. Then I listened to Into the Water by Paula Hawkins, who is the author of The Girl on the Train, and I loved Into the Water more than The Girl on the Train. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really, really loved it. It's a murder mystery. It takes place in a small town. Everyone knows each other, and so it's just uncomfortable that someone that they know has done this murder. But I loved it. Next, I picked up Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I think this came out in 2019. I'm not 100% sure. But I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. But the more I think about it, I kind of want to give it a 4 out of 5 stars because this book has stuck with me months later. This is about a girl that lives out in the swamp, and she lives alone, and it's like her life story, and then there's a murder that happens. And they're trying to figure out who murdered this well-known rich guy. And so you learn like how she's connected to him and her life story, what happened to her, why is she like not educated, why does she live in the swamp, why do people like not like her and make fun of her. And I just thought it was a really good read. It was really interesting. I flew through it, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. The final book I'm going to talk about today is Missing Pieces by Heather Gudenkauf. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I really do enjoy Heather Gudenkauf's books. This one was okay. It was good. I liked it, but I didn't love it, partly because I felt like some of the twists were expected twists. This is about a woman who returns to her husband's hometown because there is a death in his family. But it's kind of suspicious. She feels like there's something weird going on in the family. And so she's trying to investigate what the heck is going on in her husband's family. And it brings up a lot of tragedies from the past and sketchy things that are going on now. So I just felt like it was kind of short for what was happening. Like it rushed through some parts that I felt like could have been longer. Parts that were longer could have been shorter. So although I do love Heather Gudenkauf and all of her premises, like the premise of the story I really liked, just wasn't my favorite book by her. So those are the 19 things that I listened to, picked up, DNF'd from April to June, and I will be back soon to give you my third quarter wrap-up, which will be the books I read in July, August, and September. I hope you're doing well. Happy reading. Bye, guys.